I heard anecdotally from a couple dozen people who said, you know, David, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm checking out. I'm out. And the reason that this is terrifying, not only because it puts everybody in left-wing media's livelihoods at stake and at risk, it terrifies me because our instinct is the opposite of what the right does, and we will get crushed if this is the way we respond to a defeat.
So this should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, but a lot of the big progressive YouTubers out there are losing a ton of subscribers right now. Think your David Pakmans, your Sam Cedars, your Mehdi Hassans, people like that. And especially David Pakman in particular, which we're going to cover in this video, instead of being mature adults about it and recognizing, hey, any business is going to have its ups and downs. Obviously, your side just got humiliated in an election. Some people are going to be demoralized. Some people are going to check out for a time. They'll come back. You'll recover. David Pakman is deciding to hit the panic button and be a full-blown drama queen about this. And it's frankly kind of funny. We'll talk about it and respond to him in today's video. So folks, do us a big favor. If they're losing subscribers and we just won, then let's gain subscribers, okay? Let's try to hit 400,000 before the end of the year, and the best way to ensure we can keep bringing you these videos is by hitting that red button down below. It's greatly appreciated, and heck, if nothing else, let's do it to own David Pakman. Everyone hit the subscribe button right now. But anyways, this is what he put out on Twitter. He says, as we speak, progressives are tuning out due to understandable dependency over last night's results. I won't speak about others, but I've lost 10,000 YouTube subscribers overnight. When the right loses, they fund operations like Turning Point, invest in media, etc. If we abandon now, we cede total control to these absolute lunatics. Not a good idea. And here is him basically. So there he is going on Twitter crying because he's losing YouTube subscribers. But he didn't just do that. He decided to make an entire 7-minute video basically shaming people for unsubscribing from him and e-begging on the internet. Take a listen to some of that, and then we'll talk about it, respond to what he's saying here.
I always try to come here and put a positive face on everything, but there is something going on that is terrifying me. When I woke up this morning, we had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers compared to where we were last night. Now, the first thing I thought was, is this a glitch? We've been on YouTube for 15 years or something like that, and subscribers always just go up. They just never go down. They go up. Is something wrong with my channel? Is someone attacking my channel? What's going on? So I started texting, and I texted Brian Tyler Cohen, and I texted Tyler Cohen and Brian Cohen and Brian Tyler, all of them. I texted all of them. I texted Jesse Dollemore. I texted Luke Beasley and Farron Cousins and Sam Cedar. And every single one of our channels since last night is hemorrhaging subscribers.
I really wonder why.
What is it that is going on? Here is a graphic. As you can see, subscribers just go up, 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 and they are down. It is.
Yeah, I really wonder why. By the way, just look at this graph right here, okay? The dip he's talking about is so insanely small, and I'll expand on that in a second, but he is being so dramatic. He's essentially grifting here because he's losing a very minuscule number of subscribers, and he's making the biggest deal out of it. He's like, oh my gosh, guys, please go do my paid subscription. It's just terrible. It's shameful. But we'll respond more in a second. Let's hear him complain a little more, because I guess I'm enjoying this.
It is not just YouTube subscribers. We are seeing record cancellations of paid memberships. Record cancellations. These are the people that keep the show running. Now, for a moment, I thought, if it's just YouTube, maybe YouTube is purging people who are inactive subscribers. And once a year, usually YouTube does this, and you see a little decline, and then numbers go back up. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And if that were the case, we wouldn't be seeing paid membership cancellations on the website. So now I understand what is going on. It's terrifying, but it is happening. A lot of people are checking.
People are not listening to your propaganda. Okay. You know, look, I know I'm dunking on him, but I have serious things to say. But listen to what he has to say about this.
Now, I heard anecdotally from a couple dozen people who said, you know, David, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm checking out. I'm out. And the reason that this is terrifying.
Oh, no.
Not only because it puts everybody in left-wing media's livelihoods at stake and at risk, it terrifies me because our instinct is the opposite of what the right does, and we will get crushed if this is the way we respond to a defeat. The right wants us not to exist. The right wants to decimate independent progressive media. And so when I lose 5,000 subscribers and Brian loses thousands and Ring of Fire loses thousands and everybody's losing thousands of subscribers, understand that when the right loses, they get organized, they fund, and they create insanely effective organizations like Turning Point USA.
Okay, so there it is. You basically get the idea. David Pakman is e-begging on the internet. We're losing subscribers. Oh, no. Now, let me be clear, okay? I don't want to use the phrase bad karma because I don't believe in karma, but you know what I mean? I'm not here to cheer on the downfall of any other people in this industry, even if we're on the other side, okay? Let's all do well, let's all have fun, let's all do our thing. However, what I will point out is, first of all, these are literally the people who cheer for our deplatforming. You know, they think we should all be taken off of the internet for misinformation or conspiracy theories or something. So I don't know if that feeling is mutual, but we will be classy and say, I'm not like laughing because he's losing money, but at the same time, it's important to put into context just how much of a pure drama queen David Pakman is being here, guys. So you may say, okay, you lost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That sounds like a lot. Yeah, except when you consider that David has a very large and successful channel of 2.64 million subscribers, that's not a lot. Okay, he basically, and you saw the graph, by the way, you basically saw the tiniest dip in losing subscribers ever. Obviously, after an election cycle, some people are going to be tuned out and demoralized. And he's like, it's over, guys. You know, he goes and talks about how the livelihoods of people in progressive media are at risk. Let me just say, okay, as a content creator who works in this stuff and kind of understands RPM and how much people make, can estimate it at least, David Pakman makes a ton of money. Okay, I don't know the exact number, obviously, but you can look at his channel, see the subscribers, see the view count, the duration. He is very, very well off. So here you have a progressive, some would say socialist, whatever, who is out here complaining because, oh, this month, instead of making like $30,000, I'm only going to make $15,000. Oh, no. So just to put that in context, that is what this guy is doing. That is precisely why we are laughing at him so much for basically grifting for more paid subscriptions, because he's going to use the fact that he lost like less than 1% of his audience. It's so laughable, guys. It is so ridiculous. But perhaps the most important point on this subject, and Black Conservative Perspective, shout out to him, did a video on this exact same topic, is if that's the case, maybe don't lie to your audience, right? And that is arguably the biggest reason all of these mainstream left-wing but independent, right, YouTubers are losing so many subscribers right now, is because they've lost all credibility. They were misleading their audience for so long, claiming that Kamala Harris is gonna win. They were extremely arrogant. I think we forget that part, right? They were brushing off any of the obvious signs that, hey, maybe Trump might win the election, right? It's a lot deeper than just saying, oh, they predicted Kamala to win and got it wrong. No, it's not just about that. It's about the fact they were so ridiculously confident. They were misleading their audience because whenever anyone else tried to point out, hey, obvious flaws, obvious red flags in the Kamala Harris campaign, supposedly independent media just made excuses for it. And this clip right here we're about to show is a prime example of it. Shout out again to Black Conservative Perspective for doing the video first, but take a listen.
And I'm going to go look up what the actual result was from the Iowa sales poll, and it's going to be like Trump +9. Like somebody's, the first tweet I saw, it said Kamala +3. I'm like, nope, that can't be right. I gotta fact check that. This is just a rando Twitter account. It can't possibly be right. It is right. 3 seconds later, they started talking about it on CNN. Wow. Nobody could have seen this strong of a result for Kamala coming out of Iowa. And again, that is for the other states, they got to be in panic mode right now, bro. Because a poll like this means it now, without a doubt, a very comfortable victory for Kamala is on the table.
The major pollsters, who are supposedly the most reputable, herding, which means basically punting and calling it 50-50, right? Or 1 point up here, 1 point down here. They don't mention that. And they also don't mention there is an entire cottage industry of Republican pollsters whose sole job is to pretend like Republicans are up way more than they are, right? Now, to be fair, people say, well, those pollsters were the most correct in 2020. But what they don't tell you is they were the most incorrect in 2022, which is more recent, when everybody and their grandma said there was going to be a massive red wave, a historic red wave. All those pollsters said, the biggest red wave you've ever seen. And it wasn't. It was barely a red trickle. Democrats.
So right off the gate, this is what? Kyle Kulinski, right? I sometimes I get these people confused. Okay, Kyle Kulinski. You see exactly what I'm saying here? I'm not a big believer in polls. I like analyzing them because it's fun, but I don't really play into them hard to predict an election, okay? There's a lot of other things I look at. But if you want to go down that route, you know, it should have been bad news for Democrats the entire time. Why? Because Trump was polling better than he ever was in the history of any of his past presidential campaigns. But what was the excuse? The only reason the polls are close is because Republican pollsters are like paying off Nate Silver to throw it in the aggregate. It was always ridiculous. It was always just utter nonsense. That is not what was happening. And by the way, who are these so-called Republican pollsters? Huh? It's like, is ABC, is New York Times, Siena, you know, are these all just Republican pollsters? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. But these are the same people who looked at the Seltzer poll, Harris +3 in Iowa, which anyone always knew was ridiculous, and tried to run with that like it was real. So if anything, now in retrospect, was it the Democrats or the Republicans who had the propaganda polls? We know the answer to that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's But again, when you imagine this as a Kyle Kulinski viewer, okay, and all these people, you're sitting down watching these people for coverage of the election, and you keep hearing, never panic, guys. Kamala Harris is doing well. She's fine. She does not need to correct course. Look at the polls. We're doing great. We're going to win big. We're going to win by a landslide. And then the total opposite happens on its face. How would you feel as a subscriber? Listening to their analysis, you would feel like you got hoodwinked, okay? And again, it's not just that these people got their prediction wrong. I will be wrong about future elections. It's pretty common. It does happen. It's about the hubris and the arrogance of it all. And it's about the fact that they were just so insanely dismissive of anything that, like, literally, if there was a bad poll for Harris, they would just accuse it of being a Republican poll. But every good poll for Harris is just objective. It's a silly way to view the world. It really is. Okay. But anyways, let's keep listening.
That's massively overperformed. Okay, so if you have one cottage industry of like 10 different pollsters that are right-wing hack pollsters who are lying, and then the reputable pollsters are...
Were they lying, guys? Were they lying? Okay? Were they lying? I just love watching this in retrospect because these people were so insanely smug.
Just punting and calling it 50-50. It's giving you a misleading picture of a super close race, or if anything, Trump is slightly up. When all of the real data we have, if anything, is showing the opposite. Namely, there's one super thorough poll from YouGov. They are not hurting. They did 48,000 likely voters, and they found Kamala +4. The Seltzer poll had Kamala +3 in Iowa, a state she should be losing by 10 points. And then you have the...
She did, by the way. She did. Like, do you hear this right now? Okay. Every poll is wrong except these two I agree with. Nothing to do with historical track record or whatever. It's just like, these are the two polls I like, therefore they're real. Okay. Again, people usually come to YouTube, guys, because they want to hear a little bit more in-depth analysis. You know, where you got Harry pointing on CNN and saying, hey, look, number, look, guys, this is what's happening in the election. It's like, okay, but you go to liberal YouTube and this is what they're finding. No wonder these people have lost so much credibility and their audiences are leaving them. Okay, because again, it's one thing to have predicted the election wrong. It's another thing to have said such utter nonsense and then get so utterly humiliated when the nonsense you said was always nonsense. Just saying, Kyle, just saying.
Early voting numbers, which have been very good for Kamala and the Democrats.
That's the biggest lie of this all. That's the biggest lie of the entire thing. Let's listen to that again.
In Iowa, a state she should be losing by 10 points. And then you have the early voting numbers, which have been very good for Kamala and the Democrats. And so
that's where I have to say, they were just straight up lying, I believe. Okay, it's not that their analysis was wrong, because you can argue nonstop about polls in an election like this. Fine, okay? But the early voting data was never good for Kamala Harris. I don't know where Kyle ever got that from. It's just ridiculous, okay? Because Republicans in many of the battleground states, like Arizona, literally went into election day, which favors Republican voters on election day, with an outright lead in the early and mail-in voting. That's relatively unprecedented in the past several elections. Secondly, even in states where we were down, for instance, in Pennsylvania, the early vote firewall for Democrats was hundreds of thousands of votes less than what it was back in 2020. And I'm not saying this as Monday morning quarterback. There are several videos on my channel right now where I'm covering this exact thing and explaining when you just do a simple math, look, 2024 early voting, 2020 bi-party registration, everything on paper says Republicans are gonna win the election, and look exactly what happened, okay? Go back to my stream, the 7 days before the election thing, I predicted the electoral map exactly. I said 312 for Trump, and what was a big factor playing into that? You know, people are talking about polls, impossible predictor. I literally just saw the early voting data and said, unless there's some type of huge anomaly here, Trump should sweep all the battlegrounds. Look exactly what he did. Look exactly what he did. So look, this is not to dunk on anyone for making a wrong prediction, right? Like I said, I'm sure I'll get a future election wrong. I'm not like claiming to be Alan Lichtman where I get them all right, I'll get them all right, and then I got it wrong. But it is to say, when you intentionally mislead your audience, like these people were so certain it is not a close race. At least every time I said I think Trump's doing well, what did I add the caveat? Kamala can win, right? Don't get complacent, guys. These people are not engaging in that. It was just so like smug and arrogant, overconfident. And then what happened, guys? What happened? That's why you're losing your audience, among other things. Yes, the left is demoralized. We can laugh about it. But I really think part of it has to do with the fact these people lied to their audiences, and it is what it is. I don't really feel bad for them, but just figured I would share that with you here today. With that said, guys, again, if they're so freaked out about losing subscribers, be sure to subscribe to our channel right now. And until next time, God bless and peace.